What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Mohawk Motors. My name is Jason. So today I'm doing a little work on the NP261 out of my 2002 2500 HD. Now the reason I'm getting into this thing, there's three reasons actually. First reason, the output seal is pretty smoked, and I had a little bit of play in the drive shaft where the slip yoke goes into the transfer case. So I want to replace that seal and I want to replace that bushing. I also noticed when I dropped it, or when I took it off from the transmission, the spring, the tension spring on the input shaft seal fell out. That spring was broken. So it needs a new input shaft seal as well. And the other reason is these transfer cases, the 261, 261 HD, 261 XHD, a whole bunch of GM transfer cases had an issue. It was super common, and it's commonly known as pump rub. And what happens is the oil pump inside the transfer case splines into some lugs here in the output housing of the case, and over time that oil pump rocks back and forth and can eventually wear a hole through the transfer case, which causes it to leak, which causes it to be low on fluid, which causes usually transfer case failure. Now, I don't see any holes in this case yet, and as far as I can tell, it hasn't already damaged the case to the point that the pump rub kit won't repair it and prevent it from happening. But it does look like somebody has been into this case before. I'm not quite sure why yet, but whoever was in here, they did a really sloppy job with their RTV when they put it back together, and the black coating is off of all the bolts. So I'm gonna get this thing taken apart. Transfer cases are relatively simple inside. I don't have a manual or anything to guide me, and it's been a while since I've been into one, so hopefully I can get it put back together correctly as well. So let's see if we can prevent any issues and fix the two small issues that it does have. All right, I've got a pile of parts here. I've got my new output bushing, output seal, new input seal, and the pump rub repair / prevention kit. Now this kit came from Merchant Automotive. There's a ton of companies making a repair kit for this issue, so you just shop around, choose whichever you want. I like this one because it comes with a billet pump housing with wider lugs. So it's a permanent solution. It will last the life of the case. I'm sure this thing, I shouldn't ever have anything else to worry about. Plus it comes with the sealant, the Loctite, everything you need to do the job except the tools. So to get this case apart, I want to stand it vertically because everything stacks into it, very similar to how a transmission works. So I'm going to stand it vertically, and then the first thing I need to do, actually I can do this before I stand it up, is there's a little snap ring back here that snaps into a bearing. You need to get that snap ring essentially off the bearing, right? So I have to see if I can do that and get all the bolts out and stand it up the way I want to work on it. All right, team, I got the case apart. I've got the pieces off that I need to get off. So the bearing, the tone ring for the speed sensor, and then the pump. Now they all spline onto the shaft here. And the way this kit works is these little ears sticking out of the pump go into notches in the case. And you can see they're very thin. So over time, going from forward to reverse, when this pump has fluid in it, it's just enough that it rocks this pump back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And over time, that'll eat through the notches in the magnesium case. Now, some of the later design cases, which I believe this one is, they put this little steel guard in there. And that was also a repair. If the case ever got rebuilt or anything like that, they would have you put this steel guard in, which is good, it works. But since I have it apart, you know, what else am I gonna do with this? So I'm still gonna go ahead, put my new pump half on. It's just 6 Phillips head screws. And then I'll get the case all cleaned up. I'll put my new output bushing and seal on the output housing here. Clean up the magnet, clean up the housing. Whoever had this thing apart before was just, whew, way overkill with the RTV. So I'm gonna get the sealing surfaces all cleaned up, and then I need to make sure that I can get the input shaft seal out without removing the input shaft. I may need to remove the input shaft to get that out. And if I do, I'll do that while I have it apart. So replace the half, put it all back together, make sure, clean, 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 job done. All right, everybody, so I've got my new output bushing installed, new output seal installed. I was able to get the input seal off without completely disassembling the case. The sealing surfaces on both the front and back half have been scraped clean. So all that's left to do now is get my speedometer tone ring back on there. Get my rear bearing back on there. And now pay attention how you take this apart, guys, because the snap ring groove in this bearing is offset. You need to make sure you have it in the right way. The groove should be closer to the rear of the case. Wiped off my sealing surfaces. All right, now, these get sealed with RTV. That's the factory sealant, is RTV. But the thing about this is, it's extremely easy to go mega overkill. They gave me an entire tube of RTV to seal this case back up. You don't need anywhere near, not even close to that much. The way I like to do this is take a nice clean fingertip, get it on your finger, and you're just spreading a thin little layer on the entire sealing surface. Because what you really don't want to happen is for a bunch of this to squeeze out into the case, into like a little sheet. I know you've seen how it looks when it squeezes out from between surfaces, and then break off and then clog up the pickup tube or the pickup screen for your oil pump that we just went through all the trouble of fixing to make sure that we don't have any issues with it in the future. So it takes a little longer. This is definitely not as fast as just squeezing a bead of silicone all the way around the surface, but it'll seal up better. You have a cleaner looking finished product, and you don't have to worry there's going to be RTV in your case clogging up your pickup screen or your pump. There we go. So now I can put the rear half of my case on. This is the tricky part.
Eleven minutes later.
Ha! There she goes. So I think what's going to be easier is get all of our bolts started. And tighten all of our bolts. There we go. So now we get our snap ring put back where it belongs. Perfect. Yep, there we go. That's good. If you've ever noticed that these transfer cases almost always have just a little bit of dampness on the back of them, I can tell you where it comes from. Those little plugs, I mean, they stay pretty soft and they seal up pretty well. But they still get oil thrown onto them when the output shaft is spinning. So A little trick you can do to stop that little weep is just give yourself another little thin layer of RTV around the perimeter of that hole. Like so. And now when you put your little plug back in, it seals. So that'll be a nice seal. Put my speed sensor back in. There we go. Get that threaded right down in there. Ta-da! Back together. Pump rub will no longer be a concern on this one. We know we've made a permanent repair. Oh, actually, I need to put my front seal in, my input shaft seal. Almost forgot. There we go. Now we're done. Input shaft, new input shaft seal, new output shaft seal and bushing. Pump rub eliminator kit from Merchant Automotive, resealed, cleaned up, ready to go back in the truck, and hopefully never worry about it again. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I hope you find this video helpful. And I really appreciate all of you who have liked, commented, subscribed on any of my videos. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And until the next one, take care. Another important note here, guys. Make sure you look up which fluid your transfer case calls for. You know, there were a lot of years that the transfer case used ATF. There were a lot of years that the transfer cases used gear oil. And then GM switched to this new fluid called Auto Track 2.